When you're tabulating differences between dates, sometimes you want to not include weekends. For example, we've got some projects listed in column A, their starting dates, and their ending dates in column B. A simple subtraction of these two does give us a date difference, but it's counting all days. And so as we zoom in on this and write a formula in cell C2, if we want to know the number of days between these two, it's equal the later date minus the earlier date. It's 126 days. But we don't want to count the weekends, let's say. Maybe it's a 5-day-a-week operation and we don't work weekends. What we really want to do here is to calculate the number of working days. And the function is net workdays. And since that is a long entry, let's choose this. And by the way, recognize that there is an option, a related function called international, that allows us to have different weekend days in question. Maybe they're not throughout the world Saturdays and Sundays only, and they aren't. So that gives us some capability there. But we'll use net workdays, and as soon as we find it, we can just tab it into place. The starting date we put in first, that's in A3, comma. The ending date here, we're not counting Saturdays and Sundays. It's only 91 working days. Now, over in column E, we've got our holidays listed throughout this time frame too. I'm simply going to copy this formula downward. For the moment, it's the same, but let's say we don't want to count those holidays. There is an option here to follow the end date, comma, to put in the holidays. Now, we can either highlight the appropriate holidays, but it doesn't hurt to highlight more than are necessary, so we'll just, do that. That's fine. Covers the dates in question. So instead of 91 days, looks like we've got 3 holidays in there, so it's 88 days instead. You've got to have this list nearby in order to refer to it. We've got some similar examples down here that extend across the next year, and that's fine as long as your holidays are covered there as well, too. And so in the example here, we'll copy this downward, then make an adjustment to the holiday reference instead of those cells here. Again, we could possibly highlight them all or just the relevant ones, and that'll be these right down here as we slide across them. There we go. And we do the same kind of thing here. Something I want to point out, though, is what if we're looking at data within the same week? And we'll see how this is done. So let's, for example, we could actually use this date here. I'll pull it down here using the control key, and that's a Monday. So over here, I'll put in the Friday entry. First of all, just drag it to the right, make it a little bit simpler. That's actually the Tuesday. And so the 10th is Friday. So what's the number of working days there? And we can just drag this function downward. That's 5. Now, if we subtract the dates, and sometimes we do that, equal the later date minus the earlier date, it's 4. And so sometimes you want to be thinking about when you're calculating date differences. If the project started at midday on the 6th and ended at midday on the 10th, 5 really should be 4. And so you have to think out those situations a little bit sometimes. Network days does count the first date and the last date. And many times that's appropriate and not a problem. If you simply subtract them, though, sometimes you'll get one less. And be thinking about that when you're using formulas that are calculating date and time differences. And if you do need to use this for international type situations where the weekends are different, there is that other capability, that other function called Network Days International.